Rebel forces in Damascus have declared the capital city free of longtime ruler Bashar al-Assad. Reports say that President Assad has left Damascus by plane for an unknown destination. Gunfire has been reported in the centre of the capital as rebels opposed to the rule of President Assad continue their lightning offensive across the country. The Prime Minister, Mohammed al-Jalali, filmed a video statement in the past few hours saying he would work with the opposition to facilitate a transition of power. The rebel advance on Damascus comes after they said they had fully liberated the city of Homs. The rebel leader, Abu Muhammad al-Jalani, described the victory as a historic moment. Well, our correspondent Barbara Plett-Usher, it described the extraordinary scenes at the Syria-Lebanon border.
As soon as they heard the news about the transfer of power, or at least the rebels entering Damascus and President Assad having left, and they rushed to the border here, and it's just opened a few minutes ago. So there's a crowd of Syrians living in Lebanon who are now heading back into Syria. We don't really know what the situation is on the other side of the border. We understand that Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, the Islamist rebel group that is leading this offensive, has said it is taking control of the border crossings, but we don't know what process, where that is in the process, and what the Syrians here will find when they get to that side. So yes, it all is moving very quickly. Things are very much in flux. What we had been hearing from Damascus was that one of the first things the rebel forces did when they entered was to go to this notorious prison at the outskirts of the city, which is infamous for detaining and torturing dissidents and freeing the prisoners. And then we've seen all those reports of people rushing to the center of the city, chanting, Assad is gone, Syria is free, flying the rebel flag in the center of Damascus. Also, that other people were much less exuberant, kind of fearful and uncertain about what would be coming, keeping a low profile. And then we had, quite soon after we heard that President Assad had left, the Prime Minister, who has not left, put out this statement on his Facebook account, broadcast on Facebook, saying that he was still there, that he was ready to cooperate for the continuity of government, to create a government chosen by the people, to be part of the handover. And then almost immediately after that, the rebel leader issued a statement in which he told his forces not to touch public institutions, saying that they were still under the authority of the Prime Minister until there was an official handover. So trying to project some sense of calm and order rather than chaos. And certainly that is what everybody has been asking. What will this lead to and form in terms of the new governance of Syria? Will there be an orderly process, or will it not be? That will become clearer over the coming days. But today it just feels like, the regime fell so quickly. It's been hard to keep up.
Well, it is shocking, isn't it? Stunning how fast everything is moving. In terms of the international relations, Barbara, just tell me who you expect to get involved now. What do you expect to see in terms of the international reaction to this?
Well, I think Turkey will be a major player because it already is. It has been backing some of the rebel groups. It made it no secret that it was seeing the advance as something that had come about, the offensive, as something that had come about because Bashar al-Assad had refused to negotiate a political settlement with the opposition. And certainly there was very little doubt that the Turks knew about the offensive and it wouldn't have happened without their approval. They will be wanting to get some sort of settlement that deals with their interests, about Syrians, about refugees in their country, about security threats that they see from across the border. So I think they'll be a major player. It's possible that Russia and Iran will also play a role. The three of them have been in a process for the past years trying to manage the conflict, and they met yesterday. The Russians and the Iranians, of course, having propped up the regime for many years and now clearly having made the decision that they weren't going to move forward and try to beat back the rebel onslaught, but they will all want to have a say in how things develop. There will be Western involvement as well, but in the early days of the Civil War, that would have been led by the U.S. it has very much stepped back. It's in kind of this strange position because it was not supporting Assad, but it was also not supporting the rebels because they are led by an Islamist group, an Islamist leader who is actually on a terrorist sanctions list. The Americans have a $10 million bounty on his head. So they will have to figure out where they fit. They've been calling for de-escalation. I'm sure they will be calling for an orderly political process. The UN will also be very much involved. It already is getting started in terms of trying to organize something like that. So I think those are the main sorts of players that you will be seeing.
That's Barbara Plet-Usher speaking to me a little earlier from the Lebanon side of the Lebanon-Syria border, and she has now crossed over into Syria, and we can speak to Barbara on the phone. Where exactly are you, Barbara?
We are about 20 kilometers from Damascus, so about 10 minutes away from Damascus. We've been driving for about, I would say, 15, 20 minutes.
Oh, we've lost. Oh, that's a shame. We've just lost her. She's just on the phone there. That's Barbara Plet-Usher. She's just crossed over from that. Where the pictures that we're seeing now are from the Lebanon side of the Lebanon-Syria border. And she was just on the Lebanon side, but she has now crossed over. We will try and reconnect with Barbara as she makes her way towards Damascus. But I think we just, let me just try one more time. Barbara, can you hear me? No, we've lost the line. OK, we will try and get back to her. But of course, the connection is a little bit ropey. We will try and get back to her as she makes her way towards Damascus. Let's just bring you that video statement that we told you about. These are the rebels speaking within the last few hours on Syrian state TV. This is what they were saying. They're saying the city of Damascus has been liberated. The tyrant Bashar al-Assad has been toppled, and all the unjustly detained people from the regime's prisons have been released. They went on to say the Fatah Damascus Operations Room calls upon the Mujahideen brothers and citizens to preserve all the properties of the free Syrian state. Long live free and independent Syria for all Syrians of all sects. Let's try now to reconnect with our correspondent Barbara Plet-Usher, who has made it inside Syria. She's crossed over the border from Lebanon into Syria, joining us now on the phone. Tell me where you are, Barbara.
I'm in Damascus. We've reached Damascus, just coming into the city now, passed by quite a major army base. Furqa Rabia is the name of the army base, and outside of it we saw men coming out and then walking down the road without uniform, and our Syrian guide said this has been going on. The soldiers are taking off their uniforms and just walking away, and in fact we have passed on the motorway. You could see abandoned or discarded clothing from soldiers, army equipment. Also, tank, military cars, empty and left behind. A few people clambering over them, but mostly the roads were very, very quiet coming in. Now that we're just driving into Damascus, I can see there is some traffic on the street. Again, not that much. Very quiet. Some people on the street as well, but I don't really get a sense of any kind of focus of activity. Shops look like they are shut at this point. Yeah, that's right. The shops are shut at this point, and we are just heading down a main street now.
As we're talking to you, Barbara,
we're staying inside, I think.
As we're talking to you, Barbara, we're just looking at some images that have come through from the presidential palace. We had this statement, didn't we, earlier from the rebel groups telling their supporters not to attack government buildings, getting a sense that they wanted to preserve them, saying preserve all the properties of the free Syrian state. Do you get the sense that that there is no sort of looting going on and that sort of thing?
We are not seeing that sort of thing here in Damascus. Just having crossed into Syria, into the country, we passed another military base where our Syrian guide said people were going in and taking things, taking equipment, because there was nobody stopping them from doing so. We didn't really witness that ourselves. We saw people, excuse me? Sorry, we saw people going in and out. I didn't taking equipment, but we've heard reports that there is some of that, but there's nothing that I'm seeing here on the main street that suggests the shops are being looted.